Happy Easter. It is April 4th, 2021, and I am John C. Weaver from Roseman, California. The time index right now, if my tired eyes are looking at the clock, it's 1:36 in the morning. Happy Easter. He is risen. Arise, O Israel, and welcome the morning. It's amazing what kind of traditions we put up and celebrate our holiday seasons. When one deals with social media, one is reminded of all the pictures and postings that they are so gracious to give us those memories back that it does leave a bit to swallow, and it does leave a bit to look at, especially past posts that one completely forgets, like I have. But some pictures haven't been. A last baseball outing between two brothers, and a baseball outing with a baseball team that rests in peace now. Like city of Lancaster, California, Jethawks, a minor league baseball team. Because of changes happening in the major leagues, they had decided that whoever they are in the Major League Baseball powers to be decided that some minority teams are going out into the dugout permanently. And the Lancaster Jethawks suffered that one. It kind of sucks because I may not remember the players' names, but I remember the plays, and they were good ones too. But I also remember the people who worked over there too. I was lousy at names, but faces I don't forget. They served with love. They served the fans with affection, and they loved baseball. You imagine me trying to talk about Easter and Christ and what he means in my life. And I come across talking about baseball because on a day like this, should have been opening day, but actually it was back in 2013, over at the hangar in Lancaster, California. Three gentlemen dealing with situations go out for a night of frolic and to remember, to commiserate, to commemorate, and dedicate, and to forget. Forget the pain, forget the grief, forget the loss for one night, and just relax themselves and celebrate life in the form of hot dogs and sodas and baseball. And that's what we did. And memories captured in the moments of pictures. All within the Easter week. But all just as very important to one to celebrate life that way. Sunrises are an indication of, well, if you want to put it scientifically in dry toast terminology here, it is the rise of another 24-hour cycle that one has to begin. Or if you're looking at a 12-hour cycle of daylight. And then another 12 hours of darkness, and then you're back at it again. But it's usually within that daylight cycle is where you're trying to make the most out of things. A day like today, a couple of millenniums ago, a rock was rolled away from a cave. I'm wondering if anybody actually understood rolling away a rock is heavy. Especially when you had probably had about 3 or 4 people just to put a body in a grave. Actually, in a tomb made of rocks. A very special cave. And to have that rock moved took a lot of weight, took a lot of manpower, a lot of energy and strength and sinew to open it and close it. It wasn't exactly like a cabinet door that one could open and close. It was heavy. If you want to put it in metaphorical terms, it was heavy with our sins that we closed or enclosed a body of someone who was supposed to be teaching us how to live properly, or better than what we were, and looking at life a lot better. We treated the body with special oils, luminance, and covered it up. The wounds were already deep and fresh. The body was already stiff. Rigor mortis had already set in when they put the body in the cave and had to use manpower to close it up. If it was done by force or by not, it still needed manpower to close it up. And by force, I mean if the Roman soldiers were kind enough to allow people to do such a thing. But according to Jewish custom, it probably was that they needed manpower for it. So those devout to this person, this teacher, and they closed him up. And then something happened. Naturally, the Romans probably tested out one more time that the body was dead by poking it, as if one would poke a piece of meat to see if it was done. And since there was no reaction, it was already dead, right? So when women came over, 3 women, they came over to the stone and saw it moved. They said rolled away. There was always images of this round carved up stone shaped in a wheel that they would use. They used it in biblical cartoons. I remember seeing those things. But I imagine it was just a big piece of rock that they moved to enclose it to him, and then to see this one opened up again. There could have been speculation during that time if somebody else had gone in the middle of the night and just did a little bit of grave robbing. But there wasn't anything to steal because the only knowledge that was, well, actually, the only treasure was knowledge that this departed person had did to actually gave to a lot of people. Benefit of his wisdom, benefit of his self. So to hear and see that stone had been moved away and the body wasn't there. There should have been, if we actually had a lot of skeptical people during that time, looking at the area and trying to understand what happened, the significance of it. Yeah, I know, the armpits get itchy. The body gets itchy. The body goes through changes. Naturally, death and decay would have done something to the body too. So if somebody was actually sick enough to do a grave robbing at this point over here, they would have taken the body out, but there was nothing of value on it. Maybe a bit of a shroud if there was a shroud on it to cover it. And for centuries they would be arguing over this particular shroud, over its authenticity. And throughout the decades, last several decades, they've been really arguing over it to see if it was real or not. To this day, they're still arguing over it. Even with scientific measuring, they still are not sure. They know it was a funeral shroud. They're not quite sure if it was the funeral shroud for this one person. There's one very important person who was placed into this tomb with a rock in front of it and then was rolled away. My question is, whatever happened to the rock? Throughout centuries, they mentioned it to everybody else, but they never mentioned whatever happened to the rock in front of it. I mean, literally, what happened to the rock? Anybody know? Anybody seen? Anybody ever had any excavations to find out where exactly the rock was? To this day, we have tours going in and out of where Jesus Christ was born and where he died, and how people were getting, going over to these places to feel the presence. All to get close to the Master. And it's hard as hell that some people can actually not try to get close to him. Because what's hard as hell to do is to lower oneself and put the disbelief aside. And to understand that there are things well beyond yourself that are beyond explanation. Including the fact that if a rock had been actually moved away from a stone, not rolled away, but moved away, it would take great human effort, or some people would think superhuman effort. One person would not be able to do it. It would probably die of suffocation or something in there if he tried it by himself. But it took effort enough to put this person, take him outside. And the miracle part of it is, it's not the opening of the stone, the opening of the tomb itself. Of course, in itself, it would be sacrilegious for a lot of people, including their religious beliefs of opening a tomb like that, unless you're going to be a grave robber. No. What the miracle of the time was, put in suspension of disbelief, put in the hope that there was someone actually living, actually walked out as if nothing happened to his body, as if this was not the real body, but maybe a form, a transforming entity. It wouldn't have happened on the cross. If it actually did happen on the cross, how would it happen? If the transformation actually happened on the cross itself, not the start of it, but if Christ was able to get off the cross in front of the Roman soldiers and in front of believers, how would that have affected us a great deal? Our entire belief system is a dead body was put into a tomb and then comes back a few days later, and he's risen. Talking from the disbelief and from the scientific point of view, it just doesn't seem possible, does it? Or is it possible? And I'm not talking about the scientific point of view at this point, because loss of blood, loss of bodily fluids to keep the body going and the brain alive for that time. No. It is a fact that Christ came alive. Christ was reported to be the Son of God. There was a lot of deference, there was a lot of respect shown when they prepared the body and put him in there and grieved. But what freaked people out was someone had the audacity to roll open the stone and see Christ saying, "What took you guys so long?" The air's getting stiff in there. There's only a bit of air pockets in here I could breathe in, so what took you guys so long? Imagine the conversation Christ would have with the angels at this point. And the angels would probably say, "Well, we had to get tools, we had to get some angel power over here to move this thing. It's a little heavy." Wait. You're angels. You're supposed to do, because this is just a piece of matter and molecules. You're supposed to move. You're supposed to shift them. Yeah, we did. Unfortunately, somebody had a thumb on it all this time and told us we had to wait. You mean to tell me my father had to keep me in there for this long? Yeah, actually he did. He had it in his plan. Thanks a lot, Dad, for not telling me the whole story. We're going to have a conversation when I get back upstairs. Okay, so what's next? Well, here's the thing that the boss man said for you to do. He wants you to go around town and say hi to the folks. Give them an indication. Give them a little show. You want me, the guy who just got himself hung up to dry, whipped, crown on a thorny crown on my head, and still hurts like heck. I still got that migraine over that thing. And I've been speared. I've been put on a cross. My back is raw, and I am, basically in a world of hurt. And you want me to do a little bit of walking in town? Yeah, basically that's it. Okay, where are we going? Well, we have a list of places over here for you to do this. So putting that little comedy aside there, a person walks around town who is already showing that he's already been through the ringer and came back to life. What the reaction of the crowd would be. These days, if somebody actually went through the entire procedure, the paramedics these days would have fought like crazy to keep the body going. There would have been life support provided. There would have been equipment, oxygen, fluid replacements at this point over here, emergency surgery. The person would be in critical care units, put on special monitors to see whether or not this person is going to be living or not. And if he actually did live, actually did survive, how many more surgeries is he going to have if he actually been through this kind of situation before in life? But here we are back in 2,000 years, and it was a miracle that anybody actually survived something like that. So when you see someone rising from the grave, and you see the scars on this person, and you see the intent in the eye, and then you see the humor of this person, you're wondering, did this person actually arise from the dead? Did he actually live? The basis of our Christian belief is at this point over here is saying yes, because he is the Son of God. Jesus Christ is. He is the Christ, and he rose from the dead. All these years, growing up as a kid, I had been to the church services of various sorts. I never quite got the feeling of it. I never did get the mood or the understanding why all of it was so important. Why was it important for me to get up so early in the morning, put on my Sunday best, throw some candy in a pocket to keep my stomach from growling, and going out in the cold to a bowl in a canyon area and see services, most of which was being televised live at the time. There was no taping. You would see a lighted cross on a hillside across the street from the freeways. And you're wondering, okay, what am I doing out here? Because we're celebrating Easter. Okay. Coming from a kid who had been dead a few years back, it would scare the living daylights out of him that he was celebrating this and not even realizing what it was. And not sure why. Age of 4 years old, heart condition, crooked limbs, health issues, month before I was supposed to be born in. Should have been born in February, but I was born in January. And I had to have plumbing issues. They had to be fixed. And the only way to do it was a dangerous procedure. They cracked open the chest, cracked open the heart, and worked on it, and I died 3 times. And then I get to see the afterlife. I get kicked out 3 times. So the feelings and the fear and the horror of the situation was becoming more and more apparent instead of feeling like saying, yes, I am connected with the force, so to speak. No, I am terrified of what's beyond. And feeling the rejection. Feeling the rejection that somebody upstairs didn't like me, didn't want me. But they kept telling me it wasn't my time. So I'm trying to deal with the feelings of that situation. It's horrifying enough as it is for a 4-year-old trying to figure out things. He didn't have perception. He didn't have context. Most important for a 4-year-old to have is context and understanding why. I never felt the why. I never felt the reasoning for it. I never felt that you're still loved, John. Regardless of what happens, you're still loved. No, the thing is, I had shut out as a kid those connections to something higher than any of my intellect growing and budding as it was, or my own soul to understand that I felt like I wanted to go home, but I was being kicked out. So you imagine what kind of a resentment building up during that time, and the fear and the anger. So in going over the church, I tried to feel part of something, but I really couldn't feel it. So there have been some people who would actually go through the evangelical, the revivals, jumping up and down and saying, yes, I feel God, I feel it, I feel Him. And throughout the years, I couldn't even feel that either. I have a lot too much anger and a lot of fear, a lot of skepticism to really say that God doesn't exist for me. There have been a couple of times I remember that I had tried to feel something of it. One time, about 10 or 11, 12, somewhere in that time period. My great aunt that I loved was dying in a hospital. Heart conditions, and I had to pray. I prayed like crazy for her to live. God, do with me as you will. Christ, accept me for what I am. I'm a kid. What do I have to offer? And the feeling of energy, of peace, of saying it's all right, stayed with me that time. I remember that. I just wish I had kept that feeling throughout the rest of my life, but I didn't. Because other things took that away and clouded it up a bit. And it's not until I turned into a teenager in high school that I went back, tried to reconnect with it. Maybe some of the times kept going over to church, but I still didn't. I still didn't feel it. You went through the rituals, you went through the circumstances, you went through the pomp and circumstances, and you still didn't feel it. I didn't feel it. I know I didn't feel it. So until I get over to a YMCA, and then they put me through the circle. But they put me through the obstacle course first, blindfolded. Mentioned a lot of verses regarding Christ. It was until I was sitting in a circle and I had a place of rock in front of me, but somewhere in the meditation of it all, I guess maybe I had lowered my disbelief to a point where I did feel it for a moment. And that moment was lasting a lot longer than just 1 minute. It was a way of me trying to reconnect to something. And I think that force was happy enough to do so. And I think part of me was happy enough to feel it all over again. Because it lasted for some time, but then afterwards you get life happening again, and then adulthood trying to find and chase that feeling all over again as a way of trying to connect back to it again. Call this a confession of the soul. Call this a confession. There had been a lot of things I screwed up my life that I'm not proud of. There have been a lot of things I've done I wish I could have not done. And when I kept looking at Easter sunrise services, the thing I was taking away more was concerning about the story of the Master. How much of that was I related to the person in the story, the storyteller? Or actually the character in question, the woman. She hears the Master is coming into the village. And for someone who's going to be graced and blessed with that person's presence right in their home, they're going to get gifts. And she wanted them real bad. She believed, and she hoped and prayed to God that her doorstep would be graced, but her house wasn't ready. She had to make sure it was completely, utterly ready. All day she scrubbed and swept and mopped and whatever she could. But 3 times she was interrupted by 3 different people who wanted to get a little help from her, comfort, a bit of food, a bit of rest. All 3 times she was brushing them off. But she was also despairing that because the daylight was waiting fast, someone else is going to be getting those special blessings and not her. When she finally realizes that all her work was done in vain, she was crying her eyeballs out in her bedroom. And then he realized that he was there watching her And he's stroking her hair, and stroking her, and just not sure why. I may be getting the story a little bit construed at this point over here. She was trying to apologize to him, and she wanted to get the gifts because she wanted to impress him so much. She wanted to do everything humanly possible that she could. She wanted those blessings. She wanted to be someone special. And Christ was reminding her 3 times that he came to her house and was turned away. And she was pleading, forgive her. She says, I forgive you. But those 3 chances, there were 3 chances and you blew them. You could have had a special, I'll forgive you. But those gifts are gone. And I'm wondering in my own life whether or not if I've done the same thing like she has done. She wanted to prove herself more worthy than anybody else. Me, on the other hand, I know I'm not worthy. I'm a fool. I'm an idiot. I've done a few things in my past that I'm not happy with, and I've done a lot of things in my past that I'm not boastful or bragging about either. Because I don't think putting myself on a pedestal or even a soapbox, damn thing would break under my weight anyway. But even so, consider this a soapbox that's probably creaking and ready to break on me. I am no special and no more important than anybody else. And I'm not screaming and yelling that I should deserve it more than you. All I know is I'm a fool. I'm an idiot who screwed up too many chances with God. Too many chances with Christ. But I still look forward to this day, this anniversary. Not with skepticism, but maybe just a little bit of a forlorn hope if I actually had my faith. Maybe a little bit larger than a grain of mustard seed. Maybe, just maybe, I'd be able to find something that I can latch onto and just say, I believe Christ. I believe in Jesus Christ. I believe that he rose up from the dead. I believe he lived. He was a teacher. He was a healer. Was he a jokester? It could have been nice if it was reported if he was a jokester. Being a regular schlub. I know he was a carpenter, so he was a worker. He was blue collar. It kind of puts a little importance on me, too, because I'm blue collar myself. And I say all these things at this point over here because I'm screwed up. I'm human. I'm not trying to garner attention, but you see the amount of videos I've got, so maybe it is. I've got my own damn soapbox. It always comes in different shapes and forms and sizes, doesn't it? But I call this putting my own self out there as a way to maybe live on one way or another, that I don't get forgotten. That maybe there'll be a time in life that people look at me and just wonder what kind of a person I was during that time. That I could tell them I've been one screwed up individual that tried his best. I may have screwed a lot of things in my life, and I know I have. But at least I've tried to live life. So my house isn't clean. My house is a complete mess and disarray. If he actually did come through the door, he's welcome to the couch. Of course, I had to dig up some blankets for him to sleep with and pillows. I've got some grub. I do coffee. If he likes Pop-Tarts. If he likes cinnamon rolls. If he likes a bit of beans. If he likes likes eggs. Got some hard-boiled eggs. I've got some grub that I can share. And the thing of it is, the difference between me and a lady, I'm waiting for someone to come to the damn door. And not just in the form of Christ, but maybe someone that Christ already sent people over to. That can actually honestly open the door and say, welcome. Ignore the dirt and grime that we got here. It's still a hovel, but you're welcome to it. My house isn't the greatest. It isn't the cleanest. I have county would come on my ass like crazy. But at least I'll be able to tell you. If you still need a place to stay for a little bit, fine. Come on in, Christ. I'll try to deal with what I can. Like a baseball blanket. See, these days, this day and age, we live in fear, we live in paranoia. We try to live our Christian lives, or the lives that we are raised up under our own organized religion, or our own version of what belief systems are. Belief in someone or something greater than ourselves that we have put a heavy attachment to. Me, it's God and Jesus. And I haven't celebrated like anybody else probably would with tambourines or anything else and screaming and yelling, I believe in God, I believe in Jesus, like I've seen a lot of people do. And I'm sorry, I'm just not that kind of guy. Because I've also seen the cruelty of this world. And sometimes it's kind of hard to be that kind of a person because everything else going on these days, and we know what's going on these days. In our current present situation across the far globe, Christians are getting persecuted left and right. Jewish are getting persecuted left and right. Other religions are at each other's throats because they don't believe in God in the right way, or they're supposed to be believing in someone else. In our country here in the United States, we're free to worship any way we can, every which way we can. We're free, we have the right to do so. The only thing is, we have other people jumping on our ass for that because we're not doing it the right way like everybody else would want us to do. Everyone else has their own version of it, and if you don't do it the right way, you get your ass jumped on, or charges get tagged up, or something else happens in the name of someone else's insanity, lunacy. A lot of disrespect shown. In this day and age, the feeling and meaning of Christ, of the prophets out there, of the people who have walked the earth millenniums ago to try to tell us and teach us better ways to live. If we don't if we don't believe in our hearts that these people existed for a reason, that God put them on the earth to help us out, understand the reasons why, if we can't treat each other with with humility and dignity and respect, then what the hell are we in? Basic animals? Two-legged creatures that are out there for hunting people left and right? Darwin would be having a field day over us. The belief systems and the things that hold us together, our core beings, are the ones that separate us from being absolute chaotic animals. But there's even animals that have their own way of living. of their own belief system, of their own caste system. That's taught to them, but it's also innate nature. And for us, we have a problem with that. We think we're so damn smug and we are so damn smart because of our own damn brains. And I'm looking at our own results all around us all the time, and I'm wondering, what was God thinking after time in the first place? It was so simple back then, wasn't it? And this day and age, Christ would have a field day with us. I'm sure God has kittens over us, or a conniption fit, shaking his head sometimes, how we're mistreating each other. It's more important that we hold on to our core beliefs that make us who and what we are, regardless of what other faith or belief or religion or whoever you are. The core essence of ourselves. It wasn't just random chemicals. It wasn't random atomic structures. It was created. For me, there is no scientific basis on that. It's just an innate knowledge. Sometimes you just have to walk with faith. And faith is hard to deal with these days, especially when you're dealing with people who don't understand faith or have their own versions of what faith is for them. For me, it's a day-by-day challenge. Some days are good and other days are bad. The bad days we're praying for help like crazy, but it's the good days are more the challenge instead of the bad days. Because we take advantage, we take for granted, and we can't do that. Because somehow the gifts of those days are taken away from us. We may be forgiven, but we lose opportunities of being assistance, of being of help, of being someone who can be there at the right place at the right time, who needed to be there, and then missed the opportunity. We're lucky and fortunate enough if it comes around a few more times. We can't take it for granted. We have to keep seizing the opportunity, because that opportunity will be opening up something else that we don't even realize, and we don't even realize it until it happens. Something Christ was trying to tell us. He was trying to teach us. I'm not hip on the Bible. I'm not hip on the verses. I'm not hip on somebody else's explanations of what the Bible and everything else meant. I only know what my own gut, my own nature tells me. I already been indoctrinated into the spiritual world at the age of 4 years old without anybody trying to put me into organized religion of what I should be thinking, what I want to be thinking. All I know is it's taken me a hell of a long road to walk on. To understand there's a lot more to biblical verses than anything else we realize. More than just one book or everyone else's reinterpretations of that book for generations. The morals, the lessons are in there and they should not be discounted. But I understand there's a lot more to it. There's a lot more to it. Christ meant a thing to me. He did. And the problem is I kept pissing him off too many damn times. I did. I'm not a perfect follower. I don't live and work in perfection. I'm a screwed up human being. That's what I am. But I'm not puffing out the chest saying, take me what I am, because I am what I am. No, I have to say, take me and use me and mold me. You want me to be, I'll be. You want me to just be, then I'll just be. You want me to just be and exist, fine. But I understand if I'm going to be doing the proselytizing and preaching to people, then I have to know deep inside my heart and soul it's the right way, it's the right thing, and it's what God wanted me to do in the first place. I'm not hip or inclined to going through organized religion and trying to learn what to get so I can preach it to people. I just am talking about things happening in my life, my own personal experiences, my own observations, my, my own pathway I've walked. I'm not an expert at anything, damn it. I'm not. But I know I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. Easter is a reminder of those days, that there was still a chance for renewal, for reconnection. Easter may be set in a time period or in a certain week, but every day is Easter. Every day is Christmas. Every day is Passover. Every day is Good Friday. We wake up, and if we're not in tune with that, then what do we got nothing coming? I know I'm a fool, I'm an idiot. Goes without saying. But the only thing I can tell you for this Easter Sunday, not on this day, but just for today, look up into the sunrise, into the reddened and the orange skies. Walk outside and feel the coolness of the air, the stillness of it all, despite the traffic noises, or the noises that you hear all around you. Feel it. Feel it in the air. Feel it around you. Close your eyes and just stand there for a moment and feel it and hear it inside. You'll hear the hallelujahs. You'll hear and feel the chorus. Maybe you'll have an experience, maybe you won't. Maybe I will. But I know that I have a few more hours to wait. Mount Gethsemane. Even at Gethsemane there was a sunrise. When Christ got betrayed, but he still had a day. And there was still a sunrise. Yeah, it was something. Anyway, I hope you make it a good one today, wherever and whoever you are. And just remember, there are things beyond you. There are things way beyond your own five senses. You may not feel the energy, but at least acknowledge that there is something beyond you. If you cannot recognize that, well, then you don't recognize it. Me, I'm going to stay up for a while, wait for it. Maybe somehow in the process I'll feel it. I hope so.